Hey, how's it going?
People can't hear me because I forgot to turn that back on. Pardon me, everybody. That was fantastic. Let's just stop the whole stream and start all over. No, my apologies. Welcome back to Superhero Rewind Unscripted. I'm Captain Logan, and joining me tonight is Austin, the Day Ghost. You just heard his voice before you heard mine. Welcome,
That's
everybody.
awesome. I
Uh,
had the perfect lead-in for this. I'm excited.
Austin, thanks for jumping in to do a kind of an impromptu show. Originally, I was going to do the Power Rangers 2017 show tonight. It's right within my reach almost. I was going to grab it and show it to you, but I'd have to get up. But I'm going to try to do that next week. I had kind of a weird couple of days and decided to put that off a week. So I thought tonight we would do a discussion topic, and this will be real laid back and kind of relaxed and informal. Tonight, Austin and I wanted to talk about streaming superhero movies and what that's like right now in this moment in time in 2023. Obviously, this is going to be a pretty time sensitive podcast, and we're not going to go through, of course, every offering with every streaming service. But what we wanted to do was talk about pros and cons and when it's a better idea to try to stream things versus getting a copy or pulling out a copy, that kind of thing. The kind of headaches, but also the nicer, maybe even sometimes better things about streaming. And then I also wanted to make this a follow up to the Back of the Box show that I did last year about physical superhero media, where I went through like 60 boxes and read blurbs, synopses of how these things are sold to us, how they're marketed to us through the media itself, and whether or not we think that anybody even looks at that stuff, what the point of it is. I talked about how a lot of the time it seems kind of uh, like it's a necessary thing that has to be there, but it's also sort of pointless. So it's there's the question of whether or not anybody ever looks at it, especially with movies that everybody's heard of, that were really popular, that everybody went and saw. Why do you really need a blurb for Batman Begins or for Superman the movie or X-Men? Like, everybody knows what these things are, but they're always there unless it's a steelbook or something, so we gotta slap something on there. And sometimes they get really amusing, and the same thing happens with streaming services. And the reason I wanted to bring Austin on board tonight is because he actually gave me the idea for this when he sent me a couple of amusing blurbs from the X-Men movies on Disney Plus. And I was like, yeah, who do they hire to write these things? It reminds me of subtitles, and at some point I want to do a whole subtitle show because I'll have to spend some time and do some research on that. But those get really silly. There are no exits that way, Wolverine.
When I've noticed this before with Disney Plus, not for superhero stuff, but especially for like the Star spot, like our Hulu, they get like really lazy for some of the stuff on that, probably because they went, it's just like international markets, whatever.
Yeah,
Especially on shows, like I was scrolling through.
yeah, it's just
Uh,
obligatory. Yeah, they feel like placeholders a lot of the time.
and they have placeholder thumbnails for a lot of shows on Star. Like for stuff like Family Guy, they'll have just a white background and like a character in the middle, and that's just like the thumbnail for an episode.
That's a
And
great
you'll see
point.
that for like a whole season.
Sometimes I feel like you've got quality control with streaming services as much or less as you had it with video games in the 80s and early 90s, right? It's like they've already got your money. You're probably not going to cancel a streaming service over typos. So, like, who cares? And I'm always
Yeah.
imagining somebody working minimum wage doing these jobs.
Oh yeah, it's some intern somewhere that's getting whipped.
Yeah, and you'd expect. I mean, I guess I'm naive when I say this. I would think that not it wouldn't necessarily be a prestigious job, but I would think it would be like to do subtitles or to write what's essentially like the back of a book cover, to give us a quick log line to tell us what the story that we're about to look at is going to be about. I think you'd want somebody that had some kind of background, maybe a master's in English. Somebody that really is good with language, like a, what do you call it, a writer. And I don't think these are writers much of the time that do these things. And we're going to look at some that are decently well written, certainly. But there's also no consistency whatsoever, even within a streaming service very often, where it's like,
Mhm.
how many sentences are these things supposed to be? What exactly is the purpose of them?
Well, and it gets weird with some streaming services too, because some of them will have like two descriptions, where it'll be like a description before you click in, and then a description once you've clicked in. And a lot of those are inconsistent either.
Yeah, that's true too. And then there's the question of, are the smaller ones ever read? What's really the point, or very often, what's really the point of them? Because especially with TV shows, what'll happen is, and obviously tonight we're going to be talking broadly about just stuff that we're looking at on streaming services in general that will apply to superhero movies, and I threw some TV in here too, but on certain services, especially stuff like Paramount Plus, where sometimes it's difficult to even like see the screen that you're supposed to be able to look at before you look at a show. They jump you straight in. With TV shows on a lot of services, you'll like click into a show and then it's difficult to ever see the blurbs for other episodes besides the one that you're looking at right then.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I wish I thought of looking at shows actually. That would have been a good idea. Especially a lot of the Netflix stuff on Disney Plus when they transferred that over. I wonder if that got the Fox X-Men treatment.
I'm excited to show that to you guys. Hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for watching live, and thanks for watching after the fact if you're doing that instead. Once again, I'm going to get back to a movie review next time, but we're going to have kind of a fun discussion tonight about streaming stuff, superhero movies. Alex Barron just put in a comment and says one of the worst descriptions I've ever read was Netflix's description of 2001. It made it sound like an action movie about an evil AI trying to destroy humanity. Feel free to leave comments throughout the show. We're going to interact with you more back and forth as we're discussing than I usually would in just a review. Austin, before we start showing some of these blurbs, and we're going to go through the three main streaming services, or what I'm calling the main ones, at least here in America. We should mention that when Austin said earlier in his country, Austin's in Canada, if you're not familiar with Austin, and so his experience is going to be a little bit different than some of the rest of us, those of us in the States, because Austin doesn't even have access to HBO Max, which is one of what I'm calling the big three for superhero movies. And I should say the big two, and then also Netflix. So it's Disney Plus, it's HBO Max, and obviously that's because of parent companies, right? So Disney has most of Marvel, HBO Max has most of DC, and then Netflix has the scraps that those two have decided to not have on their services right now that they've had before and that they will have again, because for some reason they have these contracts with other streaming services still, even though they own the stuff and they have completely cut out the middleman, and they could cut out the middleman for everything. They still don't, and they still rotate things out, and they still give their stuff out to other companies that aren't even affiliated with them. They're obviously not giving them away, but they have contracts, and there's an exchange of money, and then eventually they'll bring them back, and they'll be back on their actual own services again. I don't really understand that, but then Netflix also has its own original superhero content and a weird amount of it, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as well.
And they have the new deal with Sony too.
Oh, I didn't even know about
their
that.
Stuff. Yeah, they made a deal with Sony that anything new from Sony goes straight to Netflix after like a certain period, and then a few months later they made a deal with Disney Plus that some of their Marvel stuff will then go to Disney Plus after like it's been on Netflix for a while.
Do you have any guesses or explanations as to why these services do this when the point seemed to have been to like get out from under the middleman and not have to be on a leash like that?
Well, with Sony, they're like one of the big major studios that hasn't jumped on the streaming thing. So they're kind of in this weird like middle point where they just kind of sell to whoever.
Yeah, that's a good point with Sony. I just don't get why anybody else does it. I don't understand why or why Warner Brothers has things on other services that aren't Max. Like, why does Netflix ever have a Batman movie? Like, I don't understand that.
They're deeply in debt.
But you're right about Sony. You'd think though that Sony would get more in bed with Marvel, given that they already have or with Disney, because they already have the contract with Marvel with Spider-Man and Marvel Studios. It is kind of weird, I think, that they're putting Marvel movies on other services.
Well, and I don't know, because I think we got all the Fox stuff before you guys did. So I don't know what the Spider-Man stuff on Disney Plus looks like. But
That's a good point. Yeah.
right now they have all three Raimi movies and Homecoming, and that's it.
Okay, they don't have Homecoming here that I noticed. Maybe I don't think they do. I'll check that. But they do have the Raimi movies, and you sent me stills with the or screenshots, I should say, with the Amazing movies. Was that also Netflix?
I think that was Netflix, yeah, because
Okay.
Netflix has every Spider-Man movie except for No Way Home.
Weird.
I think, yeah.
Because Disney still doesn't have those.
Hmm. Yeah, here they just have, like I said, the Raimi trilogy and Homecoming. And I assume Far From Home and No Way Home will be on there eventually, just due to that contract they signed. But who knows when.
But yeah, I don't even know who has the Amazing movies here right now.
Well, and the other thing with Netflix too is that it's like you said earlier, like Netflix is constantly losing those and then picking them back up here. And it's weird, like they'll lose some of them but not others. Like for a while they only had two, and then they only had one and three for a while. They almost consistently always have Amazing one and two at the very least.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then they just got Far From Home like maybe 4 months ago.
Well, when you mentioned that Sony contract, that explains why Morbius is there.
Oh yeah, yeah, and they got Morbius and Venom too.
And I did put Morbius on there. Venom, I did not notice, but again, I wasn't looking for everything, and I mostly just wanted to pull down some examples and kind of dissect the blurb writing a little bit. If hopefully that's interesting to anybody. But anyway, before we get into all of that, Austin, let's backtrack for a second and just talk about the experience of pros and cons of using streaming services as opposed to owning your own media. Obviously, I have this massive library of superhero and comic book movies behind me. A lot of the things that I can stream, I don't have to, but I will sometimes do that just, out of laziness. I don't want to have to go to the shelf, or sometimes it's because there's maybe a cut that I noticed that I don't have yet. That doesn't happen as often. Like more often, of course, you'll get just theatrical cuts and not any other kind of special cut. But first of all, let me ask you, Austin. Do you find yourself just personally with superhero movies and anything else? Do you find yourself personally streaming more often or actually going to your shelf?
I find for me with superhero stuff specifically, yeah, I tend to stream it more than anything. And I can't remember if we've ever talked about this, but I don't own any MCU movie past Ant-Man.
Okay.
I used to own all of Phase 3, and I said to my mom, like, hey, take all of my Phase 3
You did tell me about
Blu-rays
this.
because they're going to release like the Phase 3 set like they did the first two. And that's how I own the first two. And then instead they released one of everything, and it was way too expensive, and there was no way I was going to buy it. So now I don't own any of those movies, and I'm not in a rush anymore because they're all on Disney Plus.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I have that with a lot of classic Disney stuff now, where we have a decent library of that stuff, but I haven't felt the need to go after any of the things I'm missing because it's readily available there.
See, I'm stupid. I wasn't even thinking of Disney Plus, and I bought like most of the Disney stuff I wanted in like July when Disney Plus started in like November.
Oh no! And then you're like, I'm never gonna. I mean, it's nice for special features if you care, about educating yourself
Absolutely.
on any of that stuff. And Disney is really good with special features,
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So
it's
I at least have it for that.
it's worth having that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm jumping around a little bit, but that is one thing I wanted to talk about some with this topic is the lack of special features but sometimes also the fact that they're there with streaming services, you're seeing more of it now, I think, than maybe you ever did. Netflix used to be a little bit better, especially with their original stuff, about including commentary sometimes. I haven't seen that in a long time, but I haven't been actively looking for it, so I don't know if they still ever do that. But I've been seeing a lot more featurettes lately. I'll show you a picture of one after a little while, but there's one on HBO Max from Catwoman that I was really surprised to see that I think is a more recent thing, that because I expected it to just be the feature that was on the old Catwoman box set, but then it had footage of the Selena Kyle from Gotham in it, and I was like, okay,
Oh,
so
weird.
is this like hobbled together? I watched like the first 2 or 3 minutes of it because I was surprised it was there, and I was like, is this hobbled together thing where it is that feature, but you added some new stuff to make it look more recent, and so that people wouldn't think they were just watching an old featurette from 2004 from the Catwoman movie that everybody hates? Because by the way, that is a pretty good feature on Catwoman, and is probably the reason to own that disc. But I was shocked that was there. See, and Disney Plus does a lot of them. Whether you like the way they make those things, and whether you think that they're just kind of glorified advertisements or whatever, it is kind of nice that they include that stuff. There's making of behind the scenes featurettes for most of their original stuff. Like they keep, I think, like they keep releasing stuff.
Yeah, with the MCU specifically, they have just a show that like they update every time something new comes out. It's that Marvel's Assembled show.
Okay, that's what that is. Because I knew they were doing features, but I didn't realize it was a series because I've never actually looked at that.
Yeah, I think it's all connected because they started to do Legends, which is hey, you're not as big of a fan, and this stuff's kind of bloated out so much. You don't know who these characters are anymore. Watch the Legends episode when something new comes out, and it'll explain to you what's happened so far. They basically made an entire show of previously on.
Oh, I knew they were doing that, but I just meant like behind the scenes.
No, that's what I'm
making
saying
of
is they
stuff.
started that and the Assembled show at the same time.
Oh, I understand. Okay, I got you now. I'm sorry, I'm doing like 5 things at once.
No, it's okay. No, because I kind of lost track and went off into the Legends way. But they were doing that and Assembled.
Robert Wild put in a $5 super chat. Let me read this real quick. I like owning hard copies of superhero movies I love, but streaming is convenient for looking at older shows every now and then out of curiosity. Yeah, and it gives you a great deal more access because there are lots of things that are out of print or that have never been put on DVD or Blu-ray that are even now currently streaming, which is nice. HBO Max has some kind of off the beaten path, obscure stuff, and Disney does too, especially in the cartoon department. If you extend this past movies into television, streaming services are absolutely essential right now for having an overall library of superheroes on film. Like there's a lot of stuff that's really difficult to get your hands on, or that would just be prohibitively expensive, especially if you wanted to get a lot of things. Like, I don't know if the Fox Silver Surfer show was ever put on disc, but you can watch that on Disney Plus now, and it's great because that's a really good show. And I think Spider-Man Unlimited is like that, which I think was like the same year. But there's a lot of things like that there, and then also documentaries, and there's a lot of documentaries released on disc, but that are going to be kind of weird to get your hands on that do show up in some of these services. I wish there were more. And then, of course, original things that only go to those services that they're not printing and probably never will. And that sucks, and I hate that. And I don't want to be held over a barrel and have to keep paying for a streaming service for the rest of my life so that I have access to looking at this thing. But for things that like have been printed before, but now they're on a service, I do appreciate the service for having that.
Yeah, you mentioned the 90s Silver Surfer show, even just the 90s Spider-Man show that's never been fully released.
Which I'll never understand. Like,
yeah.
Is there some kind of... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Is there some kind of print right issue with that?
I have no idea.
Because X-Men has been available for years now. They've never released a single set, which sucks. It's just season by season. But yeah, Spider-Man, you've never had anything except for little 2-3 episode compilations.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I don't know what's going on with like the '60s Marvel shows. Like, I guess they're just in limbo because they're like nowhere to be found,
And
which is unfortunate.
and lately, some things that we weren't sure would show up have started finally showing up. Spectacular Spider-Man wasn't on Disney Plus for a long time, and it is now.
Yeah, I don't know for you guys. I think for us, we just have season one.
I
Uh,
think I think it's both seasons here.
yeah, so
I'll
Netflix had
check that. I can
Spectacular,
check
and
that
it was
too.
just season one here, and then it left Netflix and went to Disney Plus,
And
and
it
it
was
was also
still
just
just
season
season
one.
one. Okay, I'll check on
Yeah,
that.
I
So
don't know
that
if
must
that's
be
just a
some kind of
Canadian thing.
bizarre rights thing. Oh, you're right. It is just season one.
Hmm. Unless there's an issue, like I don't know if you remember when Disney Plus launched, but '90s Spider-Man was listed as one season, and it was every episode in
Yes.
season one, and then they took it off for like a month and brought it back, and it was properly
Oh,
formatted.
well, I'll check and see if that's what's going on here. That'll be easy because that's only a 12 episode season, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it's all here.
It is. It's
It's
all listed
26
wrong.
episodes, but they called it one season. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but that's good. At least it's all
Yeah.
there.
No, that is really nice. Um, it's nice to have that all in one spot, like you said, and it's cool that we're finally starting to get some of that Sony Spider-Man stuff brought over to be kind of reunited with everything and put in one spot.
Yeah. So let's talk about frustrations for a second. The
Mhm.
pros to this are obvious: immediate access, stuff that's not real readily available. Just having stuff right at your fingertips, not having to take up a ton of space. Well, listen, not everybody needs this, but but let's talk about some frustrations. One thing that comes up occasionally that I'm always leery of and a little bit worried is going to happen more and more, especially with Disney, is the fear of things under your nose getting slightly changed or majorly changed. Like
Mhm.
a a company or a service decides that something is something that was made a long time ago is not up to modern sensibilities and is offensive now, so they'll take a whole scene out or something. We haven't seen a ton of this yet, but I worry about it. And Disney's been moving more and more in the direction where I'm like, I think they might be willing more and more to start messing with things. I talked about this when I reviewed Black Panther a while
I
back.
was gonna mention this too. Yeah.
Yeah, they they put the Marvel logo from the Chadwick Boseman logo from the second Black Panther movie in front of the first Black Panther movie on their service. And call me a purist, I don't like that. Like don't mess with anything in the movie. That's part of that movie. And like I get paying respect to Chadwick Boseman, but you already did that with the second movie. I don't think it's necessary with that first one. Yeah, let's remind everybody that that he's already passed away before you watch this movie he's in. I don't know.
One, it's. I mean, obviously this isn't the same thing, but it's not like they did it that with Stan Lee on Disney Plus, where they updated like all or most of the Disney Marvel logos to be the Stan Lee one from Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
So I guess it would. Obviously, they're not the same thing, but
Are you with me though? I don't like that either.
it doesn't really bother me like entirely. But I understand where you're coming from.
Well, I
That's
just
also
worry
a
about the
movie I
precedent
don't
it
really
sets
care
us all.
about. So
Like, it's kind of a principle thing for
yeah,
me. Like I worry
no,
if they're
it's
doing that,
understandable.
what else? What else? And they'll also sometimes play around with like aspect ratios and things.
That's a big thing with Simpsons. Yeah.
they they'll do the IMAX thing, which I'm not the biggest fan of.
Hmm.
Where it'll change your
That's really
aspect ratio
annoying.
in the middle of a movie. Like with Dark Knight, which is fine in a movie theater, but really weird at your house.
Hmm. Yeah, and at least with that, there's like a toggle where you can turn it off. But it is annoying because it defaults, and most people don't realize that.
Another obvious con, I suppose, to relying on the services is, especially with television, but even with movies, if there's a movie that you like to go back to a lot, but you don't feel the need to own, you don't want to take up space in your house, you never know if something is going to leave. And particularly with, I mean, Disney's a lot more consistent about it. They're not moving things in and out all the time
Hmm.
like some other services are, which I really appreciate. They've got a pretty consistent library. Even if they take, I don't know if they take things in and out, but
I don't think they do. I think it's locked, which is shocking because I think we all assumed that they were going to do the Disney Vault thing and circle at least their animated stuff out,
that's
and then they haven't.
I assumed that too, and then it's been the reverse where everybody else is doing that. But not them. So, like, if you really love the Batman movies, you don't always know where they're going to be. And you might think, oh, Warner's is the parent company. Of course, they'll be on HBO Max. Nope, they pull them in and out all the time. And right now, Max has a wonderful library of animated shows, but that's changing because they're going to, again, this is a very time-sensitive video, but they're going to be getting rid of Justice League and Superman, and we don't know if they'll bring those back or if they're going to start cycling that stuff around or why exactly they're dropping those. But that kind of sucks. So like nothing is ever safe with these things, of course. And like sure, first world problems. It's nice to have a a big grouping of things to watch. You can decide whether it's worth your however much money a month to do that. But it is irritating, of course, to see things move in and out all the time and to not be sure that the thing that you've been investing your time in is still going to be there. So, these services do very often give you a warning of like, here's how much longer this thing is, like, this thing is leaving on, like, in a month. You've got time to, binge it and finish it. So, I mean, I guess that's nice. But, like, if you're, in the middle of a long series and now you've only got a month to watch it, that sucks. So that's, of course, a detriment to relying on streaming.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and with WB specifically, they just signed that deal with Amazon for animation. So it seems like a lot of their animated stuff's going to go over to Amazon now, which is the type of thing that excites me because I have Amazon and we have no access to HBO Max. But for you, like, it's a pain in the neck, certainly.
Yeah, and I forgot to even look at Amazon for this because, of course, they've got their own original programming too, and they're probably maybe next to HBO Max, depending on what you like to watch, the best at original superhero programming, because people really like
Invincible and The Boys.
Thank you. And I think that's quite good. The Boys, I like the first couple episodes of. I haven't watched past that, but I'm still upset about the ticks. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
They already had what I thought was the best live-action superhero show ever made, and then they canceled it to make these other shows that are way more critically acclaimed and people keep watching. And it makes me sad.
Hey, even with that, they're still more consistent than Disney Plus.
Jareth Gearhart, anybody else here still get Blu-rays and DVDs sent to them with Netflix? I used to. It's been a long time.
I don't think I've ever done the Netflix rental, to be honest.
Geek Lore, for England, access to certain DVDs aren't available, such as Power Rangers, which isn't available on any streaming platforms. Yeah, but a lot of it, and I actually took screenshots of this to show later, because I did want to talk about YouTube a little bit. There's an official Power Rangers channel that has a lot of seasons now, and so when they took everything off of Netflix, it was a dry wasteland for a little while for Power Rangers, where all you could get was the original series. At least they kept Mighty Morphin on Netflix, but all you could get was that and then a couple of the more recent series. But now YouTube has like maybe half of it, and most of the like really beloved fan favorite seasons are theirs. So like you can watch SPD and Time Force and Dino Thunder and a lot of the more recent stuff. All of the Mighty Morphin era is there. Lost Galaxy is there. At this point, it's harder for me to come up with what isn't. So at least, so I'm like, if you have access to YouTube, you have access to Power Rangers, and for free, which is really nice. I mean, you might have to watch commercials if you don't have premium. I do pay for premium, so I don't actually know if there's ads in those. I'm sure there is, because why else would they put it there unless they get ad revenue? Yeah. But I don't know. With or without commercials, at least it's there and you can watch it if you're a Power Rangers fan.
Who knows though? Maybe Power Rangers will have to start paying that back.
It's a touchy subject, and I don't want to talk about that right
But it's because he mentioned England with that, and obviously there's the issue for them of it being region locked. So
Yes.
it's like a whole other separate issue.
Yeah, that's a good point. And mileage is going to vary depending on where you live in the world as to whether it makes more sense for you to try to buy most things physically or stream or do a bit of both. And I think most of us probably do a bit of both. I mean, I think most people probably own the things that they like the most. Maybe some of it's collector mentality. It's just I like this thing, I have to have it, even if that's not how you watch it the majority of the time. I mean, I know I have that. I know there's things I own that I still watch streaming most of the time, but I just need to have a copy of it.
No, and I
It's
do
my
stuff
favorite
like
thing.
that.
It's got to sit on my shelf. I feel weird if people come to my house and they don't see my favorite thing on my shelf. Like, that's weird to me.
Yeah, and I own all the X-Men movies, and I rewatched the first 3 last week, and I watched them all on Disney Plus. That was how I this came to be.
Yeah,
But
because I
yeah,
mean, it's
I
the
just
same
pulled them up on
movie
there. Yeah.
so far.
Yeah, and I don't have to deal with like any of the weird cuts. Like I've never seen the Rogue cut. I own it. I probably should at some point.
Yeah, you
But since I
should.
go back to streaming so often, it's I just watch the theatrical.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Well, that's another thing that I meant to mention earlier, and I kind of alluded to. I wish those alternate cuts more often would show up on these services, and I would assume that if you've got the rights to one, you have the rights to all of them. Pardon me.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
And so it would be nice to see if I can't remember who has it right now. I think it's HBO. Yeah, it's weird the Marvel movies that HBO Max has. I'm getting to a point where I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around that. Because I'll show you this later, but HBO Max has Daredevil, and it'd be nice.
I was actually gonna say with Daredevil, I'm
if they had the
shocked
director's
that
cut.
Disney Plus has all of the Fox movies with X-Men and Fantastic Four,
Fantastic
but
Four.
not Daredevil.
Yeah, what is that about?
I don't
why?
know. Yeah.
And for a while, we could explain it away as a holdover from before those services existed, but it's been a long time now, and I don't think most of these contracts go much past 18 months. Well, that may not be true. Maybe there's some several-year contracts, but it's not like that was there the whole time.
Well, I know for you guys, because like I've had conversations with some people on like Geekflution Discords and stuff, where it's like, oh, this X-Men movie came out on Disney Plus this week, and like for us, there was clearly no issue with any of that because they dropped all the FF and all the X-Men movies at once, except for Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, which came out like a few months later.
Yeah.
But I remember, I think it was First Class. Like you guys got like almost a year after we did.
I don't know where that is right now because I don't think that was on Disney Plus.
I think it is because that's part of how I found out, unless they've taken it off.
First Class. So let me look at this again because Disney Plus didn't. When I looked this up, you just type in X-Men. It didn't have all the X-Men movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got them all like right away.
And I thought that was kind of odd. Yeah, let me show you this.
I'm guessing you guys still have all the FF movies, right?
Yes, all 3 of them.
Yeah.
But look, the first X-Men movie is not here. You've got X2
Weird.
and you've got Last Stand, but you don't have the first one. And you have all the animated series, but you don't have. You even have the anime. No, not the anime. What is that? I don't know what that is. For a second, I thought that was the anime, but it isn't.
Yeah, and I don't see First Class.
New Mutants is here, but First Class is not. It's very strange.
You're right. That's so weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, because we don't have any of the, ratings issues. Like we have, like Logan and the Deadpool movies too.
Yeah, we do too.
Oh, you guys have them on Disney Plus? I didn't see them.
Yeah, it's because I typed in X-Men.
Yeah, but if you type in X-Men here, like those will come up. So that's why I just assumed they weren't.
Well, and it's funny because New Mutants, now that you say that, New Mutants, okay, Logan does show up when you do that. But we do have the Deadpool. Well, do we? See, now, no, yeah, we do. So the Deadpool movies are also here.
Because we got Deadpool 1.
I looked at all these services today, and now it's all jumbled in my brain where I'm like, wait, is that where it was? Yeah, that's where it is.
Yeah, because the only ones I just remembered, it was the 2 I said earlier of Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, but also Deadpool 2 didn't come for a while. And then I was looking at Deadpool 2 specifically because I was like, well, surely they at least have like the Christmas cut. Like I don't know if they have the super duper cut, but like surely they have the Once Upon a Deadpool thing because they almost released it as like another movie,
Yeah,
and
and they don't.
they don't. Yeah, so
It'd be nice if HBO Max had the Donner cut.
hmm yeah, yeah, that would be really cool.
And then it's also weird, the movies where the longer cut, the not theatrical cut, has become the mainstream one. And everybody's kind of just accepted that as the movie now, and that's what winds up in streaming, almost as if the other cut just doesn't exist or we've totally forgotten about it. And then and then you never see the theatrical cut again. So
I feel like Deadpool 2 has that. I could be wrong. Like maybe other people disagree with that.
But Superman has that. The current version of
Yeah.
Superman that most of us watch is like 12, 15 minutes longer. And I don't remember the last time I saw the theatrical one, and that's the only one that I've ever seen on a streaming service.
Yeah, and for that kind of extended stuff, the big thing that comes to mind is several years ago now, Netflix here had the three Lord of the Rings movies. The first two were theatrical, and then the third one was extended. And I always thought
Weird.
that was really strange, right?
But yeah, I guess the point I'm trying to make is you've got movies that, and this isn't superhero, but you have this with like Star Trek: The Motion Picture and even Wrath of Khan, where there are longer versions, just a slightly longer version, like one or two scenes added back in with Wrath of Khan that are accepted now, and if it's ever streaming, that's the only version that you ever have. But then you've got other movies that there's a better cut that most people watch, but like whoever owns them has not caught on to that yet.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
kind
there's
of
certain
weird.
things that don't really matter. Like I don't think anyone really cares if Spider-Man 2 or 2.1 or 3 or the editor's cut
Or
or streaming. Like who
or
really
or
cares
the
at the end of the day?
Elektra longer cut, or the Fantastic Four number one, the first Fantastic Four movie, that longer cut. Yeah, nobody cares.
Yeah, like a lot of us fans would care if it was Daredevil,
Yeah,
but for a lot of that stuff, like who cares? Blade
some of it's
Trinity's
about
also like that. Uh,
quality. Yeah.
mhm. No, absolutely.
That's true. Let me read a couple of comments real quick, and then we'll look at some of these blurbs.
Mhm.
Jeff Gearhart, streaming has made it worse. I never know where anything is that I want to watch. Yep, that is the biggest drawback, I think.
The nice thing is that I think it's a lot easier to find that out now. Where if you just like Google a movie streaming, it typically does give you like a list of like, okay, like here. And there's like some websites that'll do that, but obviously, it's still like kind of annoying that you have to do that. But at
Yeah,
least it's easier.
and I mean, we haven't really talked much about cost and stuff with this too, because there's you kind of have to weigh buying a movie that you actually own, that you can watch anytime you want to without having to double dip and buy it again, versus regularly paying not one but possibly 7 or 8 different streaming services regularly. So when you say it's easier now to figure out which one it's on, that's only that's only good. That only helps if you have already access to all of them. I think when people say that, what they're really complaining about is, oh, it's not on one of the services I'm paying for, though.
Mhm. No, and that's annoying too. I mean, I have that with like the WB stuff,
Yeah, and that's
where
just when it
it's
sucks to be Canadian.
yeah,
But
exactly.
that's what was kind of nice about DC Universe when that started, which I knew couldn't last, and it lasted that much longer than I thought it was going to. But then HBO Max took that and actually made it better. Like they added a bunch of stuff to it. Like
Mhm.
when DC had its own streaming service, it had less DC content than HBO Max does, and I don't know if that will continue after Zaslav, but as they are starting to got some things for no reason I understand. But it was kind of nice to have a lot of DC stuff all in one place like that.
No, absolutely. Well, yeah, and with Zaslav, you get stuff like a lot of the streaming stuff was either canceled or bumped up to theatrical.
Yeah.
That's what the new Evil Dead movie was. It was supposed to be streaming.
But when I
Same
mentioned
with Blue
Zaslav,
Beetle,
I'm just
superhero.
talking about even like content that they already have right now that for some reason they're getting rid of.
No, and that too. But at least from my understanding, that's kind of always been HBO Max's issue, where like they're constantly dropping in and out.
No, that's true, but they're now getting rid of things that have been there since the beginning. There were certain pockets you thought were safe.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Is the thing because like you don't have Max and you haven't looked at it,
yeah.
so
So it's like that kind of
I
disconnect.
get why you wouldn't have that thought, but like movies from the beginning they've gone in and out of. Sometimes they've got the '90s Batman movies. Sometimes they have a couple of them, but not all of them. Sometimes they don't have any of them. But like the cartoon shows, I've never seen any of those come in and out. Like all of
Okay.
DCAU have always been there, but now they're getting rid of a couple. That's weird. Why now? And it's hard not to think, Zaslav's cleaning house again.
Well, that's got to be, I'd imagine, something to do with that new Amazon agreement.
Oh,
Like
maybe
maybe that'll go
so.
to Amazon. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe so.
Because I
It would be
think
so
it's
weird
been
if
so long
Batman
since I've
went
looked at
back to
that.
Amazon, because for a
But
long time that was the only way you could watch it.
oh, weird.
And it would
Okay.
be really weird because like so far that's not one of the shows they're dropping, but it would be really weird if Batman left Max and went back to Amazon.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, because I think like it's been so long since I've looked at that deal that they made, but I think a lot of people just kind of assumed it was going to be new stuff, but it's probably going to be a mixture of both.
Let me read this comment from Josh real quick. Josh
Mhm.
Galisano, I think the reason they put other movies and shows on other services is to advertise and have cross promotion in a way. It's a win win for both parties to cross over. Do you think there's any truth to that?
Uh, yeah, possibly. Just be like, hey, here's like one thing we have. Come for the rest of it, and also because Amazon or whoever will pay them more for it, and especially WB right now is, as we all know, like really hurting.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm
Um,
sure they're trying to get in like any money they can.
I guess I just don't get how it benefits, say, Warner Brothers to put a movie on another service for a while and then later put it back on their service. Like, if there's anybody that's subscribed specifically for particular movies and shows, you'd think you'd lose them for a while and then they'd come back. And, like, that's not good advertisement for you because having that movie on another service is not advertising your service.
I'm gonna guess for something like that, they look at something like, like let's say Batman the animated series for an example. I'm sure they probably go, okay, no one has HBO Max just for Batman the animated series. Like they'll probably watch it if they have it, but nobody's coming here directly just for this and nothing else. So if we take it out and put it over here where we're getting more money from that, that's like a net bonus. And then when it comes back, like it's what it was before. Like I'm sure they look at stuff like that and think, yeah, but we're not losing
The
anyone
number of
for
people
doing
you
that.
lose is negligible. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's get to blurbs, and I want to ask you, Austin, again, not
Mhm.
even specifically just with superhero stuff, but uh, have has the copy giving you a log line ever convinced you to watch a thing that you didn't know about already? Like, how important are these things really? Like, you're ever scrolling through Netflix or another service and going, "Oh, that sounds interesting," and based just on the title, I wasn't gonna watch that, but you grabbed me with your 10-word synopsis.
So I am like the most ADD like TikTok generation person flipping through streaming service. I flip through holding the right button where it just like you have like each show go like and I'm just looking at the thumbnail where I can see the title and it's like I'm just like okay, there stop this looks good. I almost never look at the little log line.
Yeah, I read them. I tend to read them more after the fact,
Mhm.
or just I want to see if they said something stupid,
Yeah. Yeah,
you know,
exactly. That or like maybe if I'm not sure about something and I've already landed on it and I'm like, okay, I'm probably gonna watch this, like maybe I'll read it, but I'm more likely to just Google whatever it is and kind of get a look of what type of thing it is.
they're essential for episodes of television.
Mhm.
Because if you don't speak episode title for a TV show and you want to go watch a particular episode and you cannot remember what the title is, that can be very helpful. But then you can also just look that up on Wiki and then go to the streaming service and find that episode title.
Yeah, I'm more likely to do that if I can't remember, like, what season or episode it
Yeah, same
is.
here, because I don't trust it. I don't trust that the person that wrote it knows anything about the show, because very often they don't seem to.
Well, and especially for me, like, I think I've talked about this when we did the Simpsons stuff, is that, especially for that show, like, I know, like, most of those episodes for the first, like, 10 seasons, like,
Yeah, and you
super,
speak episode
super
title with that.
well,
Yeah,
but I can't always tell you what season everything is. And, like,
sure.
certain seasons will bleed together, so it'll be like, okay, I know it's within these two or
So
three.
that doesn't help you because you're clicking around between seasons. You might as well just look up the episode title on Google and it will tell you what the
Exactly.
season is. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I have any issue with that, then I'm more likely to just Google it than just like flip through the streaming
The
service.
the other reason the blurbs can be fun to read is if you're like really knowledgeable about a thing and you want to be irritating and be a prude about it and just like check it for accuracy, which we'll be doing some of this evening.
Oh yeah, for the stuff that I picked for the blurbs, there's a mixture of inaccuracy and just like weird wording.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I pulled some of mine down arbitrarily, just to get a good sampling of them. So like, I want us to kind of review these a little bit and critique them.
Mhm.
And some of them will be just kind of standard and will make sense. You go, okay, good for you. That's what's in that movie, and it's at least accurate. And some of them are
Mhm.
just really generic, where it could describe 15 other superhero movies.
Well, and it gets funny with bad stuff, right? Where like
Yeah.
clearly somebody goes, how do I sell this?
I,
I don't know. Spider-Man fights his arch nemesis, the Rhino.
well, and I guess
Like,
that's what I'm kind of stuck on with this is because I hesitate even uh, like giving these a moniker. I keep saying blurb. I don't know what else to call them. You know, like okay, they're descriptions, but like, are
I
they
think blurb is
advertising
accurate
copy
though.
or aren't they? Because sometimes they read like they're trying to get you to watch it, and sometimes it reads like we said a placeholder. We got to put something here. It's basically just there so that you can glance down at it and go, okay, good, I'm watching the thing I thought I was gonna watch.
Yeah, I think I would count it as a blurb because it's a digital version of you pick up a movie at a Blockbuster and you flip it around and say, okay, what is this? And it's got like a little line and you go, oh, okay. So I would count it as a blurb. It's not as detailed as like the back of a box, but
I am glad that I was gonna say that none of them are like the back of a book cover, like some of the DVD boxes that I read on the back of the box stream, because some of those are like 5 paragraphs long.
yeah, and it's nice that because it's digital and you have a full screen, we can separate certain things. Like you can just have like a cast list. It's not like
Good call, yeah.
Peter Parker, Tobey Maguire
You
is
say
doing
that
this,
some of
and
these do that though.
oh, okay, I haven't seen any of that.
Yeah,
So
I pulled some that make a real big deal out of the actor because they think maybe that's the thing that will get you to watch it. But again, what is, you know, I do the same thing when I'm reviewing superhero movies. I'm looking at intent. I'm looking at purpose. Is it achieving the thing it's after? What is the point of these?
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
It's maybe a
Uh,
silly thing to talk about, but I'm very intrigued by it because it's like an obligatory thing that when you look at a bunch of them that are written inconsistently between services and even in the same service, sometimes you go, oh, okay, this is a thing that has to exist, and the person writing them is, after he gets the job, trying to figure out what the job is.
Well, and like specifically, jumping forward a bit, this entire thing starts from like most things with you on the channel from X2,
Yes.
where after finishing watching X2, like I backed out on the menu and it went to like the main screen for it, and I went, wait a minute, what is this blurb? Like, did the person who wrote it like never watch X2, like a movie that's like really beloved for superhero movies?
Yeah.
Like, why that one specifically? Like, why is that so incompetent?
We'll get to that, yeah.
Hmm.
Robert Wild put in a $2 super chat and just said, glad to see you in good spirits, Cap. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and click over now to these blurbs. And Austin, my apologies if you have a hard time looking at this.
No, it's okay. I can at least zoom in on the screen.
Okay,
So
cool. Because I could
hopefully I'll be
change
able
the
to see it
screen
well.
share, but I would be showing you my ultra wide, and you'd see everything else on that screen also.
Look at all those tabs.
Okay, so we're gonna start at MCU on Disney Plus. We're gonna look at a bunch of Disney Plus ones before we move to some other services. And here we go. So let's start at Iron Man. Let's start right at the beginning of MCU. After surviving an unexpected attack in enemy territory, jet-setting industrialist Tony Stark builds a high-tech suit of armor and vows to protect the world as Iron Man. Well, it's accurate. That happens. That is what happens in that movie.
Yeah, jet setting is a little strange. I'd also flip protect the world for probably, fixing his mistakes and getting his tech back.
Yes,
but...
there's a lot of making movies that aren't that grand seem grander. Almost like movies that aren't formulaic enough need to look more formulaic.
No, this is like the description of what Iron Man would be if it were a Phase 4 movie.
And somewhat ironically, when you say that, it also reads like the Iron Man movie you would have gotten in 2004.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the Invincible Iron Man animated movie.
I'm fine with jet setting. He's got his own private jet. He's in it in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Maybe, yeah, no, that's not like a
now
major
maybe this
issue.
person only watched the first act because that's all you need for that blurb. But I'm sorry.
I just don't understand why you can't say just industrialist Tony Stark. It's weird to me, just jet setting. Like
it's almost like there's a certain number.
It's superfluous.
Yeah, it's almost like you had a certain number of words you had to use, so you just added something. Like we need adjectives.
Yeah. It would be like if it ended with "to protect the world as armor-clad Iron Man." Like, yes, but like, did we really need that?
Yeah, it's a little redundant. Okay, Iron Man 2. Tony Stark has declared himself Iron Man and installed
that's good.
world peace, or so he thinks. He soon realizes that not only is there a madman out to destroy him, but the very technology designed to save his life is slowly killing him. Again, accurate.
Yeah, see, I didn't look at any of the MCU stuff because I assumed that with the X-Men stuff that I looked at, that was messed up because they didn't really care. Like, it wasn't the MCU.
Yeah.
But some of this is pretty goofy too.
But I did want to contrast it some.
No, absolutely. I like that he's installed world peace. I just like that word choice.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think you're laughing at and complaining about things that really are sort of in the movie though, and like it's worded that way. Like in the first act, he says, I gave you world peace. Like, why wouldn't the blurb use that?
No, I'm not saying that it's funny they put the word world peace thing. I just think the fact that they use the word installed there is kind of amusing because he's Iron Man.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, sorry.
But also, Tony Stark has declared himself Iron Man is very funny.
Yeah, but I do like having a sense of continuity from the last movie like that, because some of these with sequels.
Well, that is the opening. We open with the ending of the first.
That's what I'm saying. Some of these with sequels will give you no context whatsoever. There's one we'll look at later that will say, oh, I remember what it is. It's Wonder Woman 84. And it's like, and it's like, fast forward to the future. And I'm like, from what?
I can't remember. I think I sent it to you. Do you have the Deadpool 2 one in here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did put that one in there. Let's keep going. Avengers, when an unexpected enemy threatens global safety and security, Nick Fury, director of the international peacekeeping agency known as S.H.I.E.L.D., finds himself in need of a team to pull the world back from the brink of disaster. Spanning the globe, a daring recruitment effort begins. What I love about this is that, first of all, that is the longest sentence in the world, and that needs to be cut down to like 3 different sentences.
Well, if I were to edit it, I would highlight the entire thing and hit delete.
Yeah, but... I would too. Right, so what you would end up with is, spanning the globe, a daring recruitment effort begins. And what I love about that, Austin, is that that does kind of speak to what the movie is. Like, it's a team building movie. It's a go get the band together movie, and that makes it sound. Because there's more to the movie than that, and I think Avengers is a good movie, but it makes it sound like Fantastic Four.
Well, so it's really weird. Okay, so you start off with the threatens global safety and security. I think that's a little redundant. I don't think you need both.
No, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
And then after that, it makes it read like Nick Fury's the protagonist, and then
Yeah.
director of, delete all of that because
Yeah.
it's
Just
redundant.
director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Why do you need all that?
Yeah, and then after that, like I wouldn't call Avengers like a globe-trotting movie. Like I don't know why we have to specify that. I think we technically do kind of jump around, but like it doesn't feel like a globe-trotting movie. Like that's not the word I would use to describe the
Yeah,
Avenger.
yeah, again, inconsistency and not having a good sense of what the purpose of this is. So, are you describing the film or are you setting up the film? And
Hmm.
obviously, you don't want to give everything away, but like some of these already that we've read seem more about giving you a really broad synopsis. This is the movie you're going to watch. When you say a recruitment effort begins, you're giving me the start of the film. So it's globetrotting at the beginning because that's first act.
Yeah, yeah, and you'd think you would get like,
And if they were all like that, then I'd see a pattern and I would immediately get on board with it. I'd be okay. So the point of this is to say, here's your setup. We're not telling
it's a
you
Star
anything.
Wars text crawl.
Yes, we're not giving you anything but the first 10 minutes of the movie. Go. If you read this and you think you'd be bored by the first 10 minutes, don't watch the film.
Yeah,
But they don't all do that.
you would think like obviously you have them like in an image, but like you would think you'd get at least like some of the members name dropped in the description.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Um, John Kelly, like I know that they do go to other countries, but I wouldn't call Avengers like a globetrotting movie. Um, they obviously do go to other places, but that's not the type of movie it is. I don't know. Do you agree with me on that, Cap?
Well, and that was the reason I said that. If the point is set up the first 10 minutes of the film, saying globetrotting is not weird.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah, because it's also more towards the beginning.
yeah, because and now we're splitting hairs, but when it says spanning the globe, a daring recruitment effort begins, we're talking about the Shield agents that are going around the globe, not the Avengers themselves.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And
So that's
after like
fine if that's what you're doing,
after
I
like the
guess.
first half hour, we're in the air, so I guess we're technically going around the world, and then in New York. Like, I don't.
Austin, before we move on, if you don't mind, I'm going to take just a 2-minute break.
Yeah, of course.
And then we'll run through the rest of these blurbs, and then we'll call it a night. I will see you in just 2 minutes.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, folks, I'm back. Just waiting for Austin. Oh, there he is. Hello, sir.
I never left.
Okay, Austin, let's jump back into this and do a couple more MCU blurbs before we move on. And I might skip around and not do quite as many as I pulled down. Where we at? We're at an hour. We're not doing too bad. Okay. Here is Endgame. I wanted to do a more recent one. The epic conclusion to the Infinity Saga that became a critically acclaimed worldwide phenomenon. Well, no reason for this blurb then. Everybody knows about it. This dramatic showdown pits the Avengers against Thanos. After devastating events, I mean, the last one did too. Like, he's not even the main protagonist for the majority of the film, you know? He comes back in the third act, but it's a little bit weird to make it about Thanos, don't you think? Mm-hmm. See,
yeah.
This is where we're really inconsistent with purpose, right? This isn't first 10 minutes. Like, Thanos is doing dishes and dies in the beginning. Like, spoiler alert.
Well, this feels more like the marketing for Endgame, where it was like, oh, yeah, like, they're going to get payback.
Well, and what I wondered looking at these, and I didn't go do a bunch of research and find anything, but I kind of wondered if some of these things, and with different services, might be copied and pasted from someplace else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, possibly. I'm not sure.
After devastating events wiped out half the world's population, a devastating event like Thanos snapping. Oh, all right, and
that was a tornado. It was a devastating event.
Yeah, it was Man of Steel. Everybody stood under an overpass. After devastating events wiped out half the world's population and fractured their ranks, the remaining heroes struggled to move forward. Did it fracture them or did it eliminate them?
A little bit of both.
I guess. Yeah. Oh no, that's true because I guess at the beginning of Endgame,
everyone kind of goes off like on their own way, I guess.
Yeah, but like
I don't really know what happens.
They're more fractured at the beginning of the previous movie because of Civil War, right? Like they kind of come together and then.
See, and I don't know what happens after that, like, time jump, like, what happens in the middle. So I don't know if everyone kind of just goes off and does their own thing, or if, like, they're all
someday you'll get an animated Disney Plus show that will explain all of it, but will retcon a bunch of things and make it a pointless exposition. But they must come together to restore order and harmony in the universe and bring their loved ones back.
At least it doesn't call it a universe trotting adventure, I guess. It's weird to open with just like, this movie was super important.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Well, synergy, man. I mean, that's how they kept marketing it after it got huge.
Yeah,
because
that is true.
We've got to do commercials where we show people, applauding and whooping in the audience.
Yeah.
Let's look at the one for Civil War, shall we? Pressure mounts.
Yeah,
look how much shorter this is. Could we get like a standard, it doesn't have to be like a specific number of words, but can we get within 20, 25 maybe? Like,
well, I feel like Endgame, its blurb is ultimately fitting because it's bloated and could easily be cut down. So it fits.
Fair enough. Were you expecting the blurb itself to play the greatest hits?
That'd be awesome.
Where it's like this character that you might know from Guardians of the Galaxy, or they start like mentioning specific events.
Well, I want like the first Avengers didn't touch any of the Avengers characters. It was just Nick Fury. I want it to be like the Avengers have to deal with the events of, and then it just lists every MCU movie leading up to Endgame.
Yeah. I'm with you with what you said earlier about, because I thought of this a lot with Endgame. Not one mention of other characters besides the villain.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least with that, like they go like, oh, the Avengers, like they're already like a thing now.
That's true. At least there's an entity involved. Yeah.
Yeah,
because
with the first Avengers, they're not yet, so it's even weirder.
Yeah, and like if you mention anybody, it's going to be Tony Stark, which almost gives away the ending. So I don't know. Civil War, pressure mounts to hold. Oh, let me read this comment real quick. Grim Death Griffin. At least the sequel movie doesn't say Tony Stark is back at it again or other goofy movie lines. Yeah, we've gotten away from some of that back of the box stuff with these.
Iron Man gets his groove back.
uh yeah, you're not seeing words like shenanigans or anything. Civil War. Pressure mounts to hold the Avengers accountable for the destruction left in their wake after battling Ultron. When Captain America and Iron Man find themselves with opposing views, the Avengers take sides, leading to the ultimate battle between Earth's mightiest heroes. A minus, solid A. Like,
Yeah, I think the only thing I would change
that's the best one we've read so far.
it is the best. I think I would. This is almost like a weird thing where I'd maybe make it slightly more vague in that instead of battling Ultron, I would just put like previous battles because it's more than just Ultron.
Yeah,
But
but I'm fine with that because
no, I'm fine with that too.
that
But like if
movie
I had to
watches
give it,
so much as a direct sequel to Ultron and Winter Soldier simultaneously that like that is the straw that breaks the camel's back, and
Mhm.
I'm
That
I'm
is true.
I'm fine with that because that's so much that has so much to do with Tony Stark's motivation.
No, I'm just saying like if I have to be a teacher and I have to give it like a docked mark, I would maybe say that. Like I don't know, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
That is the best one.
and like it's specific, it's not real generic. It does bring up the most important characters in the thing. I like that it matches the image.
Yeah.
You know, because like you see Tony Stark and you see Tony and Steve facing off, and then that's who's mentioned in the blurb. Like, yeah, that one's decent.
Mhm.
Hey, how about the one for Ragnarok? Oh,
Oh boy,
this one's shockingly long.
I'm surprised it doesn't just read fart noise. That's just the blurb.
Thor must race against time to stop the seemingly imminent Ragnarok. This is wordy. This is unnecessarily wordy. And
it's
also,
like-
it is imminent. Like, it does, it's going to happen. It's in the title. I don't know.
It's slightly like kind of blurred. So for a second I thought it said immigrant, like immigrant song, the only song they used in that movie.
May I continue?
Yep.
Thor must race against time to stop the seemingly imminent Ragnarok, a cataclysmic event that could end all of Asgardian civilization. We could get that down to 5 words, could we not? Imprisoned on the other side of the universe, and without his mighty hammer, Thor must overcome the odds to ensure that Asgard does not fall into the hands of the ruthless Hela. But first, he must face off against a fellow Avenger in a gladiatorial contest.
That's weird that you would just like name drop a specific action scene in the
Yeah.
but first.
Well,
They're
again,
like, but first he's got to get back home or something.
it reads like synergy. Like I said earlier with another one, it reads like, okay, the advertising pitched this movie on these things, so that's what the blurb is doing. Except why not just say Hulk? Because the trailers did.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost weird because you're right. It is almost beat for beat what they showed in the trailers. It's almost weird that there's no mention of Surtur, like
Yeah,
Hela and Surtur. You know.
that one is ultra wordy.
Hmm. Yeah, and very unnecessary.
A part of me wants to, and I would have needed more time than I had today to put more of these in, and then this would have been a 3-hour show. But a part of me wants to eventually do another one of these just for specifically episodes of TV shows and cartoons. And Tom was mentioning earlier shows that are really, really bad about that. And I did throw one in here. This is what happens in this episode, but by contrast, the couple that we just read, I love these really short ones where you do a double take and you go, wait, that's what happens in that? It's like, 7 words long. This is great. So this is from an early episode of the 90s X-Men animated series. Master Mold, this is from the final decision. Master Mold wants to replace all the world leaders' brains with computers. The end.
Very good.
Now, I
Yeah,
guess
very to the
with...
point.
And that is what happens with that. But I think what's funny about that is it's not even like a synopsis of what happens. It's like, here's the motivation of the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think, though, with episode titles, you're going to get more truncated log lines because it's not the idea of a whole show. It's just, okay, you've probably been watching this show. This is the one where.
Mm-hmm. You could
It's
almost
like
just write that.
it's like Friends episode titles, right? Where
Yeah.
like Friends, their whole gimmick was we'll name our episodes the way people talk about episodes, which is fun, and so it makes sense to do your blurbs that way.
I want to see the log line for the Spider-Man episode where he has to hang out with the little girl and then he gets amnesia. I want to see what that one says.
Unfortunately, I don't actually have it up right now. We're just looking
Yeah.
at screen grabs.
No, of course.
Are you ready to get into the X-Men movies?
Yes.
Okay,
This
so
is what started it all.
this is honestly the reason we're here, and maybe we should have done this 15 minutes into the show, but here we go.
so good to build up to it.
Yeah, you're watching a standard Geekvolution video. Here we go. X2. And remember, I don't have X-Men. I don't know what the X-Men blurb says. After a Black Ops specialist, why is that in quotations? He just is. I don't understand that. After a Black Ops specialist abducts Xavier, don't put his name in here. Like Stryker's the don't say his name. Imprisons his students and steals Cerebro. Nightcrawler, 2 words, joins forces with Magneto to rescue their brethren and forestall a Holocaust.
Yes. So it sounds like a buddy comedy. Like it's like Lethal Weapon, but with Magneto and Nightcrawler, and they're like, okay, we're gonna go stop this Black Ops. We're gonna stop the Holocaust.
Yeah, like Nightcrawler doesn't join forces with Magneto any more than the rest of the team does. They bump into him in the woods, and then
No, like it's technically what happens.
yeah, sort of.
It's so weird.
But like, why not? I have a theory. Do you want to hear my theory?
What's your theory?
I just thought of this because of the praise I gave to the Civil War blurb. It's because we're looking at his face right now.
Maybe.
That's why. We got to make a
Nick
big deal out of
Fury wasn't on
Nightcrawler
the
because that's what you're
Avengers one.
seeing.
Nick Fury wasn't on the Avengers one, I don't think.
No, and honestly, I don't know if this blurb was written for Disney or if this is the same one you would have seen when it was on another service. That wouldn't always necessarily be the same image. So yeah, maybe not, but that's sure what it looks like right now. Is like, that's Nightcrawler. I guess we got to make him look like the protagonist of the film. And also, this goes against the notion, again, inconsistent. It feels like the purpose keeps changing. This goes against the 10-minute rule, the just set up the movie blurb, because you wouldn't do that with this because we're supposed to wonder if Nightcrawler's the bad guy at the beginning.
Yeah, and it's really weird not to have, and deal with the origins of Wolverine in your X2 blurb, right? Like, that's the main thing you would want to fit in there.
You're really burying the lead, right?
Mm-hmm. Like, why are you making it out to be a Nightcrawler and Magneto movie?
No, and the other way to go is you can leave Wolverine out if you and you could treat that more like a subplot and not even mention it if you made it about the 3-pronged ideological battle between Stryker, Xavier, and Magneto. You could go that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. You could do something like that.
But also, why wouldn't you make it about Wolverine?
No, it would be even better.
It should be like Wolverine comes very close to unearthing the knowledge of his past, and this stands in the way or whatever, right? Like,
No, what it should be, Cap, is a 3-way battle in ideology versus Xavier, Magneto, and a Black Ops specialist.
Nightcrawler, and then Nightcrawler teams up with one of them.
I want to see Wolverine yell that where he's like, Black Ops specialist!
Okay, I think this one is worse somehow. This is the one...
Sorry, before you get to that one, do you want me to just tell you what the first X-Men one is? Because I loaded it up on my phone.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
It's very
that on
generic.
Is that on Disney? Oh, where you are, that's on Disney.
Yeah, so I didn't send you this one because it's just generic.
Does it just say a setup film, period?
Pretty much. It just says, the X-Men, a small band of outcast misfits, fight to save a world that hates and fears them. Like, yeah, that's technically the logline of X-Men.
You didn't put the word mutant in there?
Yeah, you got their outcast mutants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, to be fair, like, okay, you gave me the premise, and that's another way to do this is premise over synopsis.
Yeah, that's more so like
You can do
what
that.
you pitch to the studio, where you're like, "This is what we're making."
Yeah. What if
Mm.
every blurb was just this thing you've heard of meets this thing you've heard of? That should be all of them, right?
Yeah,
That'd be
there's
great.
no Black Ops specialist in the first movie though, so we couldn't include that.
Like, and then we make them really inaccurate just based on what happens at the beginning. So the X2 is something meets West Wing. I don't know what the other thing is, but
Oh, no, you know what the first movie should be
what's that?
to fit in with the second movie? Not entirely, but it should be like the X-Men must battle the Brotherhood in order to save the life of a government official.
Yeah, but
Just like government
they don't even
official.
call it Brotherhood until the third movie.
Do they not? Yeah, I guess they
No.
don't.
and
Okay,
and it
that's
kind of
fair.
comes out of left field. Or is the word kind of name dropped in the first movie, but we make a big deal out of it as like registered trademark Brotherhood by X3? Like,
See, I just watched them and I can't even remember. But I think I'm more distracted in three by the power level thing. So
I
if
yeah,
the Brotherhood thing is new, then
that's
I'm too
super
distracted by that.
jarring. It feels like you've jumped to a slightly different universe.
Hmm. Exactly.
Let's try to move through these a little quicker. So here's X3. This is X-Men: The Last Stand. When peaceful mutant leader Charles Xavier clashes with his militant counterpart Magneto, which happens in every movie. So far we haven't even set up this movie. The battle lines are drawn for the war to end all wars in this explosive X-Men adventure. Now, first off, I'm gonna take massive points off for writing out the word explosive and not putting just an X with a dash, right?
Yeah, I mean that also just straight up could be the description for the first movie.
Yeah, it really could.
And probably the second one,
Well,
honestly.
yeah, I mean, like retroactively after you've seen X3, you kind of understand why they say that because we make a big deal out of. Well, first of all, War to End All Wars, The Last Stand. We think it's the
Well,
last one,
and even like
and
on the
they
DVD, I
they
remember
treat
it
it as
was
a
like,
war.
which side are you? I
Yes.
don't remember if you remember that.
No, I do. You have to choose blue or red when you put in the DVD
Yeah, it's like, are you an X-Men or are you a Brotherhood?
in the Brotherhood. Yeah,
And I always
absolutely.
assumed as a kid that that meant you either get the good ending or the bad ending. That's
It's a
not
choose
the
your own
case.
adventure. But okay, so with X2, how do you not mention Wolverine and or Stryker?
How do you not
X3?
mention the
How
Dark
do you not
Phoenix?
how do you not mention Phoenix? That's bizarre.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, I would write a log line that would leave all of that out entirely and would make it sound like a completely different movie. Cause it'd be all about like Xavier um like pushing down an evil personality and then it comes back for revenge, right? Like that's what you'd write. That's the movie.
Or if you're gonna leave that out, like, why isn't it they're fighting
Suppressing it.
over the cure
Yeah, and that too.
something?
Get your cure cartridges. Days of Future Past. I'll just read this real quick. Unstoppable characters. Okay, this is why I wrote this. Really, the unstoppable characters from the original X-Men film trilogy join forces with their younger selves in an epic struggle to change the past and save our future.
So,
That's bad.
Brian
That's
Singer cut out Juggernaut. They're all stoppable. That's the reason they have to go back in time.
yeah, and
They're
also
very much stoppable.
and also this one more than anything else we've read so far, in my opinion, Austin reads like somebody didn't watch the movie because it makes it sound like the whole team goes back in time and it's
Yeah,
just
like we're
Wolverine. Like,
teaming up
okay,
with everyone.
technically they join forces in the sense that the two Xaviers are going to have a conversation and that's going to motivate the younger one, and Wolverine is from the future and goes to the past. So yeah, okay, you've got two sort of, but it reads like it's Star Trek 4. I mean, like it reads like everybody goes back in time.
Yeah. No, it absolutely does. Like we're getting, you know, like No Way Home or something where they're all kind of coming together.
Yeah. How do you not mention Mystique? Okay. But yeah, I couldn't get around Unstoppable. That cracked me up.
Forget about Mystique. How do you not mention Jennifer Lawrence? Just there was battle over Jennifer Lawrence
In an epic struggle to get Jennifer Lawrence to keep her
in
makeup on.
in this epic new adventure.
Oh, you asked me if I put in the one for Deadpool 2. I scrapped it for some reason. I've got the first one, but I don't have the second one.
Oh, okay, so the Deadpool 2 one literally just says the sequel to the first. That is the blurb.
No, it's not. Is it really?
It is.
We're gonna pull it up right. No, it's not. Not on
It is
mine.
here. It is here.
Okay,
I'll
pull
send
it up
to you.
because I'll read what I have, and this is why I got rid of it because it was just kind of standard. Foul-mouthed mutant mercenary Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool, if you've seen the first movie, you know that, brings together a team of fellow mutant rogues to protect a young boy with supernatural abilities from the brutal time-traveling cyborg Cable.
I just sent it to you on Facebook Messenger.
Okay, I'm gonna have to just read it.
It says just a sequel to the
The
first.
sequel to the first one. That looks like a joke. That looks like a placeholder. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, hold on. It does, but it also reads intentionally that way because
Like maybe it's like a Deadpool
all the
joke.
Deadpool advertising is real tongue-in-cheek and fourth wall breaking, and that sounds like a Ryan Reynolds, yeah, duh kind of joke. So maybe that's intentional, but why didn't we get that? That's weird.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that is very strange. I assumed you guys also had just the sequel to the first one.
No, I wish we did. I would have put that in there. That's great.
No, duh.
The first one says, based upon Marvel Comics' most unconventional anti-hero, Deadpool tells the origin story of mercenary Wade Wilson, who hunts down the man who nearly destroyed his life.
Yeah, that is accurate.
That's fine. There is a part of me that wants all the Deadpool stuff to be in the tone of Deadpool, just because I'm used to seeing that, I guess. You know what I mean?
We should have told that out of order, though. They should have mixed that sentence around. Just for the meta joke.
Well, if I'm doing the meta thing, then I would have written this blurb based on the other one, and I would have called this the prequel to Deadpool 2. Yeah. Fantastic Four. Not Fan Four Stick, but the 05 one, Tim Story. Transformed into... How is it this long? Like, this movie warrants a 7-word blurb. Transformed into superheroes after surviving a disaster in space, the Fantastic Four struggle to reconcile their powers. Well, yep, that's the movie. Stop
That's
right
like
there.
the entire movie.
Responsibilities and relationships as a dysfunctional family. Overcoming their personal conflicts, they finally join forces to defeat Dr. Doom, the malevolent, metallic
Spoilers.
embodiment of their treacherous former patron. So, like, we love our adjectives, but this is... So, what we're looking at is all of the inconsistencies in the way or I keep saying inconsistencies. I guess just the different battle strategies, I should say, in how we advertise in trailers, right? This is like the text version of trailers. So some of them give away friggin' everything, and some of them tell you nothing, and then you have some things a little bit in between, and that's what we're seeing here. This is the Sony Amazing Spider-Man 2 blurb.
Yeah, and if I worked at Disney Plus, my description for the first Fantastic Four movie would just be a movie. It is technically
a movie not deserving of a sequel that got a sequel anyway.
Or my blurb would just say, "Thanks, Tim Story."
Thanks for creating the growing pains we needed to get past some of this. Fan Four Stick, again, surprisingly long, but you're gonna love this because so I looked at this earlier and it made me kind of laugh out loud because the time jump is in the blurb.
Oh my god, I wish it said recuts or reshoots in there too.
A young genius builds and they're almost exactly the same length too, which is great because there's like two halves of that movie. Well, sort of. I guess it's Does the time jump happen and there's another half a movie, or is it a third act?
Oh God. I've only made it through that movie once. Every time I try, I fall asleep the first 20 minutes, so I don't remember.
Hey, that's fair. Okay, a young genius builds a portal to another dimension with help from friends and colleagues, but an accident leaves one stranded and the others altered with unusual powers. By the way, that's fine. Four
Yeah,
years later, the time jumps in there.
Oh, if only Endgame had 5 years later,
That'd be great.
and it would take up the entire line. It would be like one at the
You'd
start.
have to keep
one at the middle.
scrolling down to see all of it.
Yeah.
You're gonna love this. 4 years later, the stranded Victor, lowercase v. Like, is it his name or is it a thing he accomplished? The stranded Victor returns as a megalomaniacal conqueror, and the others must put aside their differences to stop him as the Fantastic Four.
A crash test dummy comes back. The Fantastic Four must unite.
Oh, man. Stranded Victor, lowercase v. That's one of my favorite things so far. That's great.
It's especially funny because they messed up Doom's name, and his name is messed up in the movie.
Oh, that's true.
Because they filmed with it being
I
Doomashev,
forgot
and then
it.
they had to ADR it. To
They
be
ADR'd
Doom.
it. Yep, it's the
Yeah.
exact same thing that they did with Khan in Darkness.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize they did that where they ADR'd his name.
Yeah, so he has an alternate fake name, and it's been a while. I can't remember what it is now.
It's like John Smith or something.
Yeah,
like,
so
boring.
it's John. Thanks for saying that, because now I've got it. It's John. They changed it to Harrison, but it started with Harriman.
Oh,
I
okay.
think is what it is. And there's one place in particular where you hear RoboCop give a really weird ADR line reading where he goes Harrison, and it's very strange. And I think I don't know if I'm remembering this right. Nobody's gonna care about this. This is Star Trek, not superheroes. But John Harriman is the name, and I've actually met this actor, believe it or not. John Harriman is the name of the captain of the Enterprise B at the beginning of Generations, and I always wondered if, because I can't remember what the story is now. I always wondered if what happened was somebody told them that name was taken, and they were like, "Oh, we got to change it now." I'm not sure, but
What's especially funny because Cumberbatch and the friend from Ferris Bueller don't look that far off. Like they look like a little similar.
yeah, that is the friend from. I forgot about that, because that was his only other major acting credit. So when I went to a convention and he was there, that was the only other thing he talked about. But he was a really nice guy. Okay, New Mutants. I know this is one you wanted to talk about, so I think this is
Huzzah!
in this terrifying action-filled film based on the Marvel comic series. 5 young people. It's weird that these would make a big deal out of it being a Marvel thing, because you're on Disney Plus and it's in the Marvel tab. Like,
No, this reads like, what do we do? It's New Mutants. Based on the Marvel comic series New Mutants.
yeah.
Like, I don't know.
The most insecure thing, and you see Marvel do this all the time, I think the most insecure thing you can possibly do is make it obvious that you don't trust the character to sell itself, so that you have to put the branding in front of it. And we're seeing with action figures all the time now, like Marvel's, whoever, because that we're afraid that somebody's going to not know where that comes from. Or sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's a license thing. I mean, I get that, but anyway.
Oh, I hate that they do that with the video games. I think it's really annoying that all their new games are Marvel's Spider-Man, Marvel's The Avengers, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, I think that's dumb.
Yeah, I don't like that either. Robert Wild says a better comparison would be Shredder in the Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movie. I mean, yeah, that's a good comparison too, but like mine is still apt because they ADR'd over the names, like it's the same thing. Anyway, in this terrifying action film based on the Marvel comic series, 5 young people who demonstrate special powers are forced to undergo treatment at a secret institution, allegedly to cure them of the dangers of their powers. But it's soon clear that their containment is part of a much bigger battle between the forces of good and evil. So let's just make the scope of this movie seem much, much larger than it is.
See, I was thinking I want it to go even farther. I think it should be like the action-packed finale of the Fox X-Men movies.
That took 4 years to make.
Yeah, it's like Boyhood. It took all these years to make this movie. It's really exciting.
Grim Death Griffin. They have the team name in the description, and they never really come up with the name until the end. Barely. Good job description. And Van Forstick was the same way. Or maybe he's talking about
that's
Van
talking
Forstick
about,
when he says that. Yeah. It's weird that came in just now. Anyway, pardon me. Okay, let's look at some other blur. So let's jump now to Netflix. And I wanted to do a few over there. This is technically not superhero, but it's close to the same vein. And I went ahead and grabbed this one just because when I went to Netflix today, this happened to be the front cover today was Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Dreamy delivery girl Ramona captures Scott Pilgrim's heart, but he must vanquish all 7 of her evil exes in martial arts battles to win her love. That's a fine logline.
I didn't realize her name was Ramona. Now all I can think of is the Ramones.
Yep.
I hope they play the song Ramona in that movie. They probably don't.
Have you ever seen that?
I once when it came out, and I don't remember it very well.
That's a good
I gotta
movie.
rewatch it. Yeah, I like Edgar Wright well enough. I think he's better with what's his face, Simon Pegg, but I think he's a good director.
But yeah, this one is nice and succinct, and if you've seen
It's
that
very
movie,
to the point,
it's like,
and just
that's
what it is.
And again, that's how the trailers were advertising it. You know, make a big deal out of the evil exes and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that from the trailers at the time.
But I mean, it gives you your character's main motivation, what he's after, and what the conflict is. It's not hard, guys. Okay, let's get to Spider-Man's. Well, you know what? I had the other ones in here, and I went ahead and just did Spider-Man 3 because it's funny. And then you put in Spider-Man 3 and then The Amazing. So those are the ones that we'll talk about. Peter Parker alienates those closest to him as he squares off with rivals, villains, and a mysterious force that darkens his Spidey suit and attitude. There's something that reads almost tongue-in-cheek in this one.
Yeah, no, the fact that it's like ... attitude feels like we're making fun of the material.
It's like you're aware of the memes, and this is the first one we've looked at that really does that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Besides the sequel to the first one. But yeah, I love how routine this sounds. Like he faces off with villains. It's a superhero movie. There's bad guys in there. Mysterious force.
Quite a few.
Darkens his Spidey suit. So I was gonna say, well, that's not really very accurate. It like is the suit, but I guess maybe it does actually go over the costume in that movie.
Yeah, well, because he's wearing it, but then he also just has the regular one at the end, so I don't really know what's going on. The fact that
it looked like it was assimilating it.
Mm-hmm. The fact that it specifically says like darkens his suit just reminds me of the Wonder Woman pilot, because throughout that they have like little notes for like effects people of like what to do. And there's Wonder Woman's walking by, and it just says "darken pants."
Oh! You're talking about the 2011 Wonder Woman pilot.
Yes. Yeah. The that show.
Yes, with Adrian Plackey.
Yep.
I'll do a rewind on that eventually. Okay. I did a review it when it came out, but Eric and I did that. Okay.
Funny! I actually looked at the Flash show and then went like, I'll keep looking.
Yeah, I put a few other random things. We've looked at a little bit of TV here and there, and I wanted to throw some of that in there too.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to do this because I found a blurb for the whole show, not just episodes.
Yeah.
So this is a forensics expert who wakes from a coma with amazing new powers, squares off against forces threatening the city in this live-action superhero romp. I wish it was more of a romp than it is, honestly.
So my main thing I would change about this is it would be Barry Allen, the fastest man alive, must work to become faster to defeat the faster enemies that he fights, while also trying to fall in love with his sister. That would be my description for the Flash show, but obviously that doesn't appeal to a mainstream audience.
And then
So
just in all caps at the end. Yes, but it's accurate to the tone
yeah,
in the writing of the show. And then in all caps at the end of that, it says, "Run, Barry, run!"
exactly.
Hey, look, it's Morbius.
And then the cast would just be the Wells dude like 6 times.
As this guy Wells and this guy Wells. Hey, let's do a mini marathon on that show at some point.
Yeah. Well, we still got to do that Batwoman one.
Yeah, we've talked about other potential things with Batwoman though.
That was the one that we won for the game show. We never did it.
Oh goodness, I guess we didn't. Okay, we'll make sure that happens this year. My apologies. Oh, I was gonna say Bat March, but I think we've already kind of got all the slots filled for Bat March.
Oh yeah, no. Well, and I'm the reason we didn't, because we just did Legends of Tomorrow, and then we did that, and I was like, can I take a break from CW?
You know what? We haven't done any CW in a while. It seems like it's time to come back to that. Anyway,
Yeah.
Here's Morbius, a biochemist with a rare blood disease in search of a cure, injects himself with a dangerous serum that gives him super strength and a thirst for blood.
I actually today, it's funny this came up. I saw concept art from Morbius that I'd never seen before, and it was just Jared Leto in like a poncho, and I was like, really? Like this was the concept art we had for Morbius? Okay.
Yeah, the artist should have been like, I'm just going to go take a picture of a dude in an alleyway, and then that'll be our...
Exactly. Just here's a picture of Jared Leto.
Why didn't you just go get one of the covers from, like, Hobo Morbius with the series in the late 2010s? Why didn't you just do that? Like, you already have that art. But anyway, yeah, this one's pretty generic. This but accurate, like and to what happens in it, sure, but also like the flavor of this, that sounds like a really cheap B vampire movie that you've seen 100,000 times, and I saw that movie, and that's what it is. So fair enough.
See, I think it should be possibly set in the MCU. Michael Morbius becomes a vampire, and then meets Vulture, and then maybe they'll both do crimes now. I don't know. And it would even say, I don't know at the end. It would be like, ... I don't know.
Some of
like
these
shrug emoji.
With movies that, and of course, this is a new movie, so it's going to maybe be a little bit different. And it's kind of interesting, too, when you have things that are written to advertise or to describe something that just came out versus something that somebody wrote like decades after a thing was made, right?
Mm-hmm.
The perspectives are different. But this, I might have expected to be less downplayed than it is. Like some of the not great movies or things that don't have a good reputation that we looked at before. It's like they're compensating, trying to make it seem like a more exciting thing, and like you might like it more than you're going to. This is like, biochemist with rare blood disease. Watch that if you want to. You know what I mean? Like. It reads as dime a dozen as it is.
Mm-hmm. It might as well just say Morbius Untold. So that's the description.
Precisely, yeah. Okay, so you sent me this one because we didn't have this on Netflix. This is in Canada.
It's weird they don't have the first one, but they have 2 and they have the reboot. It's really weird.
And my apologies for the white around this. We'll run through these pretty quick. The
Sorry,
identities...
I had it on my phone.
Of Hellboy, Liz Sherman, and Abe Sapien are exposed as they face a new threat. The Golden Army is preparing to attack.
So, the identities of Hellboy, Abe Sapien, and Liz, like, why is that the word choice we went with?
Yeah.
Then the Golden Army is preparing to attack. No, they're not. Like, that's not even what that MacGuffin is. Like,
and also, just the verb is just kind of strange, right?
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Like, just everything about that's really weird.
Yeah, it's grammatically weird. Like, as they face a new threat, the Golden Army is preparing to attack. Like, why is that a whole new sentence?
It would be like if the Attack of the Clones one was like the Jedi's like try to solve this mystery while the clones prepare to attack. Like
Yeah,
no.
that one gets a D plus from me. Amazing Spider-Man in this reboot of the hit superhero franchise. Oh, look, you have 1 hour and 39 minutes remaining on this film.
Yeah, because I was watching through all the movies. I went through the Raimi ones and I went through Amazing. I made it like 20 minutes in and I was like, I'm okay. And then I stopped.
In this reboot of the hit superhero franchise, high schooler Peter Parker learns to wield his newfound powers while facing down arch-villain the Lizard.
So that's the main reason I picked it, is I thought describing the Lizard as arch-villain, the Lizard is really funny. Like, no one would describe him as his arch nemesis. Like, I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, but in the defense of that, at least it didn't say his arch-villain. Like,
That is true.
I have in comics and stuff seen that word choice before where it's like rogues gallery equals a bunch of arch villains.
Mm-hmm.
Villains are arch villains. Like if you can come up with the name of them and they keep showing up repeatedly, they're all arch nemesis.
Yeah,
I guess
that is true. That one feels to me like they went, I don't know, this movie's really boring. I don't know how to describe it. Spider-Man, he's a reboot. He's a teenager. There's an arch-villain. Bye.
I'll read this real quick because we went past Morbius and I didn't notice it. My apologies. But $2 super chat. John Kelly the Conqueror felt the need to do the Morbin time thing. It's Morbin time. I have no regrets.
Oh. So, no offense to John Kelly, but the Morbius meme I thought was like really funny for
I'm
like
just
5
not a
seconds.
meme guy, so like I've heard that around, obviously. But
Well, I'm
like,
just talking about Morbius in
people
general,
think
not the Morbin time thing.
yeah, sure.
But just like Morbius in general, like it was really funny. And then Jared Leto started making the jokes, and then it got to the point where Sony was like, "Oh, we're gonna re-release this movie because it's so funny."
Yeah.
And like a lot of that kind of killed the joke for me. Now it is funny that people
and that's what I was trying to say.
That bombed twice, like that's funny.
Yeah, but that's what I was trying to say, Austin, is I didn't even hear about the joke until it was dead already. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. Yeah. And now it comes up with like everything. Like any movie comes out, like people are like, "Oh, it's whatever time," and I'm like, "Okay." I'm sorry, John Killing. You spent money on that. I don't mean to attack you.
No, I'm not trying to attack John either. I just like I don't know what to say to that except yep, I heard that a lot when that was going on.
I have lots of regrets, so I can't agree with that.
Amazing Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man squares off against the Rhino and the powerful Electro while struggling to keep his promise to leave Gwen Stacy out of his dangerous life.
Yeah, why is Rhino listed first? Like, we don't have Green Goblin, which you could maybe say like spoilers, but like the Rhino's in the last scene. Like,
yeah, I know. He's not even and with comparing them to all these other blurbs where you're like, why did you leave the villain names out?
Yeah, and like you could say, well, Rhino's also in the first scene, but like if you don't know anything about Spider-Man, you don't necessarily know that that's the Rhino. Like it's weird.
Well, again, it's in the trailers.
Yeah, no,
because they put the final frame of the film in the 5.5-minute trailers they posted for that.
Yeah, and they put the after credits scene in the trailer for the first movie.
Oh, and John Kelling says absolutely no mention of Harry Osborn.
No, and that's the other big thing is we mentioned Rhino, but not Green Goblin or Harry.
Well, you can't give any of that away.
Lord knows we don't want to spoil this movie.
So one of the weird things about Netflix is they've got, like I said, kind of the scraps that the other services are currently throwing at them, and so they're kind of
all of Sony's output.
They're yeah, and then just occasionally other things, like sometimes they'll get a Batman movie, or at least that used to happen. They don't right now, I don't think. But
yeah, we have Green Lantern here and Man of Steel.
Okay, because those are still on Max where we're at. But again, you're different because you don't have Max, so you might end up with more DC stuff.
Well, and how did the Blade movies fall? Because those are WB, and they're on Netflix.
I don't know where those are. I didn't look into that.
Okay, I just wondered because all three of those are on Netflix here, and both Ghost Rider movies, and at least the Incredible Hulk.
So Netflix, as far as TV goes, still has some of the CW stuff that they are still have by contract. And so it's kind of weird that that's split between them and HBO Max now. But a lot of their offerings beyond the Sony stuff, and I'm glad you're here because I didn't realize they had a contract with them, like an ongoing thing. But they keep with original content making really cheap looking, super generic superhero stuff themselves, thinking like that's where the money is, that's the ticket, that's still the big fad, and it has been for 15 years. Let's just make up a bunch of kid-friendly and otherwise superhero stuff. So I mean, look at this. This was just me typing in superhero in the search bar, and you get things like I'm gonna have to move Austin here to show you guys this, but here I'll take these out temporarily. But check this out. How I Became a Superhero, Netflix original. Unknown Origins, Netflix original. I don't know what those are. We Can Be Heroes, Netflix original. The Thundermans.
It's not even Thunder Force, the Thundermen.
No, and right above Thunder Force, because Thunder Force is also there. Henry Danger, something called Raising Dion. I don't know if that's actually a superhero thing. Jupiter's Legacy, I've heard okay things about, but I haven't watched yet.
Jupiter's Legacy is even funnier, Cap. That's like a shared universe thing. I think that's a part of the that Mark Millar Netflix deal.
Oh, yes. Yeah. But check it out. It keeps going.
And they announced like 3 shows, and then I think Jupiter's Legacy didn't do very well, so it's not continuing, I think. But I think they have like other spin-offs of it coming out. I don't know.
Nickelodeon's Danger Force.
So many forces.
The Titan. Look at this one. The Main Event. She looks angry. Project Power.
I wish that was the subtitle. She looks angry.
It should be. But yeah, what is happening? There's all these super generic. Am I going to review these at some point?
I mean, we did. What's it called?
Thunder Force.
We did that, but I was thinking of last year, and we both kind of liked it. Okay.
Oh,
with Stallone.
on
Amazon.
What was that?
What was that movie called?
What was that called?
It starts with an S.
It was really generic.
Samaritan.
What's that? Samaritan. There you go. There you go. Okay, let's jump over to HBO Max, and we're getting close to 2 hours here, so I'm going to skip a few things. You guys have seen lots of examples of this now. We've kind of done our bit on blurbs, but let's look for a minute at what HBO Max is doing with some of these. Here is Black Adam.
Oh, I was really hoping you'd do Black Adam.
The story of the DC superhero comes to the big screen.
Wait, no.
In this
story of the DC superhero, no.
In this thrilling action adventure starring Dwayne Johnson.
I mean, of course he gets.
I love how wonderfully generic that is. It's like the selling point of this is DC and Dwayne Johnson, and that's all we know. Like, whoever wrote this did not watch that movie.
No, it'd be like if the Joker movie had the story of the DC superhero. Like,
of the DC superhero. Yeah, it's wonderful. I actually put the Joker in here. Yeah, here it is. A failed comedian begins a slow descent into madness as he transforms into a criminal mastermind. Slow clap.
Is that a meta thing about the director? Or is that a description of the movie? I don't know.
Yeah, but I like that because it's concise and it's not too many words and it's precisely what the film is about. Like, that's all you need.
It fits both, yeah.
But that's all you need. Read a book. Like, that's just fine. Austin's making jokes here. I'm trying to give this an A. That gets a high grade in my book.
No, I agree. It works both ways. I like that.
I'm gonna jump right. I got your joke and I appreciated it, Austin, even though I didn't laugh. Hey, speaking of Dwayne Johnson, let's do a League of Super Pets.
Yes.
When Superman you and I did 2 hours on League of Super Pets.
Isn't that crazy?
Somehow. When Superman and the rest of the Justice League are kidnapped, Crypto the Superdog, super-dog, forms a rescue team of superpowered shelter pets. I mean, that is what happens.
Yep.
So far, HBO Max seems better at this.
Yeah, they have like a. Sorry, I couldn't get that out. My Canadianness was showing, and I couldn't say anything good about HBO Max.
Robert Wilde wants me to show Catwoman, so I'll pull that one up. I'm sorry, this is not the one for Catwoman. That's the one for that.
What was the? Oh, that was the.
That featurette I was telling you about. Yeah, Catwoman. A shy artist acquires feline speed, agility, and keen senses following a brush with death.
Okay.
So
I've actually never seen Catwoman, so I assume that's correct.
That's what happens in it. The way they're writing these sounds like the copy that you would give for a really short TV spot in the 90s to an announcer.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Where it's like, let's give the audience like 7 seconds of copy so that they'll know the essence, the gist of the thing. That's how you should write these. They should all be like this, with the exception of Black Adam, because that told you nothing. It's a DC superhero and it's Dwayne Johnson. But the rest of these, this is how they should be. They should fit on the front of the box.
Yeah. No, I would have assumed the Catwoman one would have been like that New Mutants one, where it would have been like based on the DC comic spin-off of Batman, like that kind of a thing.
Okay, but you're gonna love this. Here's the Snyder cut. So I'm sorry, this is just Justice League. Okay, let me read Justice League and then the Snyder cut. So Justice League is longer. It says, fueled by his restored faith. And again, I don't know if some of these were written before they went to Max or not. Fueled by his restored faith in humanity and inspired by Superman's selfless act, Batman and his new ally Wonder Woman recruit Aquaman, Cyborg, and the Flash to help them save the planet from a newly awakened enemy.
See, it should be more like the Avengers one and be like, Alfred travels the planet, Alfred the butler of Bruce Wayne, and heroes are brought together.
Sorry, I was distracted by this. Liquid Arm Production says, oh god, Amazon had a really good Ninja Turtles 90s plot description at some point that was like, ooze mutates 4 turtles into ninjas. Or even something funnier than that. Well, they have that movie
that should have been the one for 2.
They have that movie right now. Well, yeah, but you get the flashback.
No, but like actually, you know what? The first one should be that exactly, and then the second one should be the secret of the ooze that mutates.
Oh, did they already take it off again? God, these things change so much. That movie was on.
Would that be on Paramount Plus now?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
But it was on Netflix a week ago.
That's New Line.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I was thinking now because.
But no, it comes. That's another one of those movies that comes off and on Netflix constantly.
Yeah, I think Netflix had. You know what? I think they took them off because I think I wanted to show my little brother the first Ninja Turtles because he's never seen any of those movies, and then it was taken off. So yeah.
Okay, so check this out. So here's the Snyder cut.
Yep.
Zack Snyder's Justice League. Zack Snyder's, gotta get that right up front, even though it's in the title. Zack Snyder's exclusive director's cut finds Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, and the Flash protecting the planet from the dreadful intentions of Steppenwolf, Desaad, and Darkseid in that order.
It should just say Zack Snyder masturbates on screen for 4 hours. It should just be that.
Oh, I just couldn't mute him fast enough.
I'm sorry.
Okay, now do you want to see the blurb for the Justice's Gray cut?
Yeah.
Zack Snyder's exclusive director's cut finds Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, and the Flash. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Oh, I was really hoping it would end with "but in gray."
I know, me too. That's what I was gonna say. Is why does it say in glorious black and white?
That movie's not even in black and white. It's just straight up gray.
Daredevil, the blind superhero of Marvel Comics fame, uses his super-tuned senses and acrobatic skills to hunt down a sadistic crime lord.
Okay, I mean, it's one of those ones where, like, yeah, technically,
sure,
but like that's not how I would word it.
Yeah, I just think it's the way I have this centered, it looks like HBO is in Daredevil's eye, like the reflection of it.
That's why you can't see him.
That's why but only in the one eye. You can see fine out of the other one.
He's legally blind, but he can still kind of see out of one eye.
Okay, this is one of the only ones that seems in the spirit of the thing. This is the Adam West Batman movie. Holy original Bat fans. The Caped Crusader battles a quartet of his most devious enemies in this Zowie 1966 movie based on the hit show. Well, you're just throwing onomatopoeia in the middle of your sentence. That's not even an adjective.
Batman must fight his BAM! Rogues Gallery.
I'm having fun with HBO Max. Let's do a couple more real quick. Here's the blurb for Gotham the series, not an episode. Again, just the series. And by the way, this is on Max. And remember, Netflix paid an exorbitant, amount of money to get Gotham on their service first, initially, and now it's not even there anymore. And it's
okay.
it's
It
on
still
Max.
is here, but
Okay.
different, different issues.
Well, and I mean, maybe it's in both places. I didn't look that up, but I would be surprised if it was still on Netflix. If it's on Max. No, it is not. Okay, anyway. Before there was Batman, there was Gotham.
No, duh.
Name a superhero where the city came into existence after the superhero did.
Batman's just walking around a field and they go, let's make Gotham here.
I mean, this is the show that reverses it and says the city makes the villains first, not Batman, and then Batman's sorry, it's late. What is the word I'm looking for? He's created by all of that. He's a product of all of that.
Yeah.
But it's such a weird way to word that, right? Before there was Batman, there was Gotham. Before there was me, there was Russellville, Arkansas, where I was born. Yeah, that was there already, and then I came into being. That's how being born works. The origin story of some of DC Comics' greatest supervillains and vigilantes, this 1-hour drama follows Detective Jim Gordon's rise to power in a dangerously corrupt city. I just thought the beginning of that.
It should just be before there was before there was Batman, there was Gordon as Batman.
Okay, so I pulled this one out just to watch Austin squirm. Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's Teen Titans Go See Space Jam.
I'm sorry, what?
I was hoping you didn't know about this. So
I've never heard of this.
So they did a TV special, and I don't think this has been released on disc. They did a TV special that was basically the Teen Titans from Teen Titans Go doing a riff tracks to Space Jam.
So Teen Titans is their Simpsons, right? Where you just release shorts that are like, "Hey, advertisement."
Except this isn't a short because it's the whole movie.
No, it's like a movie. Yeah. So it's even worse
because they talk over the movie.
Teen Titans Go. Who
this
cares?
Is sort of a superhero movie, and I might have to do a rewind on it, and it would be like a 5-minute rewind. It'd be the shortest rewind ever. But
do we have to do Space Jam 2 for video game movie mania?
I mean, I thought maybe we should, because it'd be funny to watch you have to watch that again.
Yeah.
The Teen Titans are visited by the Nerd Ducks, the iconic Space Jam villains. That's not what they're called.
Are they even iconic?
That's not what they're called, though.
I don't even remember because they're not iconic.
It's not in my brain right now, but that's not what they're called. I don't think.
I'll look up Space Jam.
Okay.
What did it say they're called?
Nerdlocks.
Nerdlocks. Okay.
I don't think that's what they're called.
Yeah, I have no clue.
The iconic Space Jam villains who tried to capture Michael Jordan and the Looney Tunes.
Google says Nerdlocks.
Okay,
yeah.
Maybe so. Astonished to discover his fellow Titans have never seen Space Jam, Cyborg organizes a watch party.
That reminds me of, like, in high school, I remember there was this girl I liked.
That is a lot longer than a lot of the blurbs for, like, real movies. I just want to throw that out there.
But we had a mutual friend, and so she one day was like, "Oh, I've never seen Terminator," and I was like, "Have you never seen Terminator or Terminator 2?" And then like weeks go by, and like this mutual friend we had said he'd never seen Adam's Family, and she like freaked out and was like, "It's Adam's Family, though. Who cares? You've never seen Terminator." It's like that. Robin's like, "I've never seen Space Jam." Yeah, that's good, Robin.
Yeah, but I
Space
mean,
Jam
are you
sucks.
talking about the Addams Family film from the '90s?
Yeah.
For a lot of people, that's a huge movie, though. Like,
Is it? Okay.
yeah,
I don't
like
hear a lot of people talk
no,
about it, so
I get that. That's
okay.
like Nightmare Before Christmas for some people. Like,
Really?
yeah, no, I get that.
Weird. Okay.
I understand that.
Okay.
I get where you're coming from. Hey, here is.
I don't know. I live in a bubble.
That's okay. Sometimes that's a nice place to live. Hey, look, it's your favorite thing. Here's Batwoman.
Yes.
Kate Kane
Oh, it's
follows
so short.
in the footsteps of her missing cousin Bruce Wayne and protects the streets of Gotham City as Batwoman.
That's correct for season 1.
That's true. It's really easy to write log lines for superhero things because most of them are really formulaic and fit in the same basic mold. And especially if it's an origin thing, it's person gets superpowers or person has tragic backstory or both, and then goes and fights a villain. Like they don't need to be long. They're like, I think a log line for superhero movie is probably easier to write than any other genre.
Mhm. Absolutely, yeah, because it's just hero's hero character, and he's gonna save the day, or she's gonna save the day.
You could probably put them all in the same basic, like, 3-part sentence structure for a single sentence. Even the movies that don't follow that as much, because they're almost all gonna fit. Even the ones that get really far away from superhero formula, like Logan or Winter Soldier or something, still, you got a hero that has some kind of ability or costume.
It's still
Or,
got all that formula stuff,
yeah, it's
yeah.
still in there.
Yeah.
We can plug in for all of that all day long. Like,
Mhm. No, absolutely.
John Kelling says, that's not Kate Kane in the header.
It should be like Kate Kane, famous lesbian superhero Batwoman, is the cousin of Bruce Wayne, and she's angry because people don't accept her, and her sister is evil.
Real quick, I'll jump over to Paramount Plus. We haven't looked at any other streaming services, really. We talked about some others earlier, but here's their blurb for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are bigger and better than ever. Well, bigger, yes. In this blockbuster hit loaded with nonstop action and laughs. Is this the exact blurb that I read on the back of the box? Because it's reminding, like I'm having flashbacks. When New
I
York,
think this is so far the blurb that's on every single TMNT reboot.
yeah, and it's not a blurb. This reads like it should be on the back of the box.
Absolutely.
When New York City is in trouble, it's up to these 4 ninja fighting pizza loving brothers to save it, aided by determined reporter April O'Neil, Megan Fox. Yeah, this is the first one that we've
So
seen
it's
that
like a
does
Paramount
that.
Plus thing. Weird.
Uh-huh. And their wise master Splinter,
Paramount
these
let 'em
unlikely
suck.
heroes must face their ultimate nemesis, the evil Shredder. And then here's the one for Out of the Shadows, which is way shorter.
Perfect.
After supervillain Shredder escapes custody, he joins forces with 2 mutant henchmen, Bebop and Rocksteady, to unleash a diabolical plan to take over the world.
What? That's not even right, though.
It's really not. And how is there no mention of Stephen Amell as Casey Jones?
Or Krang, the actual, like, why is it he teams up with his 2 henchmen? That's like Joker teams up with his henchman Bob.
You beat me by 3 seconds. Okay, well, we've done 2 hours of this. I think that's about enough. Austin, do you have any final thoughts on the topic of superhero movie streaming and specifically blurbs written to sell them or sort of tell you what? If I made my point, there's no consistency whatsoever to these. I don't know what the point of them is.
No, to quote my favorite MCU character, we've got to do better.
I feel like this is a thing that it would be easy to have a strict standard for.
Exactly. Yeah. It would also be nice if half of them didn't get details wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, at least be accurate in the first place.
Yeah, like whatever, if you're kind of vague, who cares? But when your movie's like Black Ops specialist fights Xavier, so Nightcrawler and Magneto must team up to defeat the Holocaust. Like, at least don't be that.
Yeah, no, that's the weirdest one as far as losing points for accuracy. Nightcrawler teams up with Magneto. You're imagining a very different film.
Yeah, it would be like if you described the beginning of Infinity War as Thor teams up with Mantis, and like she's there
Yeah.
with the Guardians. I don't know why her specifically.
And then the other weirdest thing we kept running into was just major elements you'd leave out where it seems like you're burying the lead and pretending like the A story doesn't even exist.
It would be like if the Guardians 2 one was like Rocket Raccoon and Yondu were captured by the evil Taserface. And that's just it.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Like, that's not the movie, not really.
Okay, well, real quick, now I'm curious. Let's see what that one actually says.
I want that one to be in quotation marks and just end with like by James Gunn, like he went in and wrote it himself. He was like, "I don't trust you guys."
So this is another one that's pretty generic. Set to the sounds of Awesome Mixtape Number 2. Marvel
Okay.
Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 continues the team's adventures as they unravel the mystery of Star-Lord's parentage.
Like none of that is descriptive about the movie until like the last like 8 words.
Yeah.
It's like
So just give us that then.
set to the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy, a Kevin Feige production, directed
Just
by
say
James
the Guardians
Gunn.
of the Galaxy unravel the mystery of Star-Lord's parentage. That's all you need.
Mhm. The Guardians
That's
of the
a fine
Galaxy
logline.
continue their adventures in the sequel to the first movie.
Well, like, mystery of Star-Lord's parentage is detailed enough, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
happens in the film. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's all you need.
All right, well, everybody, thanks a lot for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed this installment of the Superhero Rewind podcast. And I'm going to try to come back next week for Power Rangers 2017. So look forward to that. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan. And Austin, thanks a lot for coming aboard and doing this with me. This was a lot more fun, and I think we covered a lot more stuff than we would have if I just did it by myself. So I really appreciate you being here with me.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on my second time on Rewind.
Is this your second time?
Yeah, because the first one was it was like labeled as Rewind. It was that Rewind commentary for X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh, well, it was a Rewind commentary, but it wasn't
was
actually it wasn't a real rewind, though.
No, it was like this weird. I think we only did one, but you were like, okay, we're gonna start doing Rewind commentaries.
That
There's
was
like more relaxed ones, and there's like the Rewind.
that was my whole plan, and then it didn't.
And they were going to be connected to the Rewind.
Well, very shortly thereafter, I found out that my wife and I were having twins, and I had to I had to give up scripted. I mean, that was a lot of the reason, but. Anyway,
That'll do it.
I want to say thanks as always to the patrons, and I need to pull up Patreon real quick so that I can read the patron names because I totally forgot to do that. Hopefully I'm doing that this episode. It's taking for my browser forever. But anyway, look, it's been a few weeks, okay? I'm rusty. But if you would like to become a patron and support the channel and Superhero Rewind, you can go to patreon.com/geekvolution. The $10 tier gets you access to or lets you become a Superhero Rewind producer. You get a lot of really cool perks there, including hanging out with me and the other producers once a month. What are you laughing at right now?
Sorry, somebody in the comments brought up like, what would Doctor Strange 2's one be? So I was like, oh, I'm gonna look this up quickly while you're reading.
Oh no, what is it? What does it
It
say?
is,
Well, I'm doing my own copy.
It is adventuring through the multiverse. Doctor Strange breaks open infinite possibilities for the MCU.
Oh, I didn't see that one. That's great. I skipped over the Doctor Strange one. I did have that one.
That's just straight up like more products. We can do what we want now.
gives us the ability to make more things for you to purchase. Yeah, you've got much more of a beeline on like the cynical, like profit-driven motives of these things, I think, than I do.
Oh my God, I had that. Okay, so the other day we did like a Discord watch party for Batman '89,
Yeah,
and there
I
was like
was there. I remember that.
there was a flash like behind the scenes thing that they like released, and there was like that shot at the end of '89 where you have the bat symbol, and they had like a flash run through it, and I was like, I can't be in the actual movie. But that was like the type of joke I was making in that comment or in
Yeah.
that watch party of like, this is the thing that they'll do in that Flash movie.
Yep.
And then it was in that behind the scenes thing, and I was like, wow,
There it
I
is.
can't.
But
Yep,
that doesn't even remotely surprise me.
I just know how hacks think, so.
Anyway, I want to go ahead and wrap up. Once again,
Yeah.
thanks a lot to the patrons and especially our producers. And one of the perks that you get when you're a Rewind producer as well is you get a credit at the end of every show. And I'm going to do that right now. Thanks very much to Bill Mills and Blake, Chewbacca's Lover, David Crabtree, Edward Bador, Elliot Slater, Goofster123, Hot Soup, who, by the way, lives like an hour and a half away from me. I just learned recently. Joe Turner, Joe Gira, Joshua Gilisano, Matt Bat68, Michael Martin, Stone Gassman, Super Billy, The Amalgam Nation is a new patron. Welcome. Adam March, Checkers the Inventor. He gets very excited when we talk about amalgam things, Austin. Damon Begay, Jacob Schneider, Justin Hayes, Kareem Roberts, Matthew Brody, Michael Gulick, Miguel Rodriguez, Wendell Jones, and Zach. We really appreciate all of you guys. Thanks so much for your support. And I'll be back with you with lots more stuff here on Geekvolution this week, and hopefully another rewind for you next Monday. I was Captain Logan. This was Austin. We appreciate you guys. Austin, thanks once again for doing this with me, man.
Yeah, was I not in that list? Do I have to like figure out something with Patreon? Did I drop out?
Usually I find myself reading TheDayGhost, but yeah, you're not in there.
My debit card expired. We have to update it.
That must be the reason.
That's really funny.
Yeah, something seemed off in the. Well, and at one point I had 3 guys with the same first name all back to back to back, and they're not there anymore either.
Yeah, because I was listening for me, because I was going to be like, and that's me.
And then you weren't in there. It's like when you're waiting for roll call.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thanks again for being here, folks. I was Captain Logan. This was Austin. TheDayGhost. There, I got to say it. Bye, everybody.
There we go.